Ohio is often dismissed as a boring state. People usually just drive through, look out the window at endless cornfields, and think they've seen it all. But they are wrong, terribly wrong. Would you believe that right here in this land lie hidden stone castles built by hand over half a century, the remnants of a massive glacier, and even a herd of giraffes roaming an old coal mine? I'm the one who will prove to you that Ohio is truly a hidden gem of America. And stay until the end of the video, because the #1 spot is a natural wonder right in the heart of a major city that millions of people unknowingly pass by every day. Top 20. Granville, a perfect New England replica, 1805. Have you ever felt like you've stepped into another dimension? Imagine driving through the heart of Ohio, surrounded by typical cornfields, when suddenly the landscape completely changes. Red brick houses and pristine white columns in the Greek Revival style appear. Welcome to Granville. This town's story didn't start by accident, but from a deep sense of homesickness. In 1805, a group of settlers from Massachusetts decided to migrate west. But instead of blending into the local culture, they did something crazy. They brought their entire identity, architecture, and New England lifestyle to the middle of Ohio. Stepping into Granville, you'll see the historic Granville Inn, where every breath of time seems to linger on the stone walls. They say if you close your eyes and listen to the bells from Denison University echoing down the hill, you'll forget you're in the Midwest. But here's what will really keep you. Beneath that elegant, aristocratic exterior lies a darker secret. Granville was built directly on the mounds of the ancient Hopewell culture. White settlers built their homes on the ruins of a civilization lost thousands of years ago. The contrast between a modern, academic town and the ancient spirits deep underground creates an atmosphere thick with curiosity. Some say that on foggy nights in the valley, you can still see the shadows of ancient earthworks returning, reminding us that Granville is just a temporary resident on the land of prehistoric giants. But is that the truth? Or just the imagination of sleep-deprived college students? Either way, walking under the fiery red maple trees in the fall here will make you realize that sometimes architectural conservatism creates a timeless masterpiece. Top 19. Ohio Caverns, the underground Crystal Castle, 1897. Leaving the elegant beauty above ground, I'm taking you 100 feet below the surface in Champaign County. Have you ever wondered what lies beneath peaceful dairy farms? On a fateful day in 1897, a farmhand named Robert Knopfsinger discovered a strange sinkhole. Instead of filling it in, he crawled down, and what he saw changed the region's history forever. It wasn't a dark, dirty cave, but a brilliant labyrinth of pure white stalactites and stalagmites. Ohio Caverns is dubbed America's most beautiful cavern, not for its size, but for its color. Imagine standing in a massive room called the Palace of the Gods. Here, the formations aren't dull brown like other caves, they are white as snow and transparent as crystal, thanks to an extremely high calcium carbonate content. The most prized highlight, which will take your breath away, is the Crystal King. This is the largest pure white stalactite known in the Guggisberg, though, weighing over 2 tons and taking over 200,000 years to form. Each drop of water falling from its tip is like a cosmic hourglass, counting time so slowly that humans can't even perceive it. The most shocking part? This entire cave system is still alive. It is still growing and changing every day. But be careful, the temperature here stays at a constant 54 degrees Fahrenheit regardless of summer or winter. A silent chill that makes you feel tiny before Mother Nature's creation. But don't get too lost in the crystals, because the dark corners of this cave still hold passages that have never been fully explored. Who knows what other crystal kings are hiding in the shadows, waiting for the next person to find them. Top 18. Kelleys Island and the Scars of the Ice Age. When you stand on the shores of Lake Erie on a windy afternoon, looking toward the horizon where the deep blue water meets the sky, you might feel like you're standing before a distant sea rather than a Midwestern state. But hop on a ferry and go a few miles further to Kelleys Island, where nature decided to leave one of its most powerful testimonies to its destructive and creative force. Here we can enter You won't find noisy amusement parks or skyscrapers. Instead, you face the glacial grooves, the largest easily accessible glacial grooves in the world. Imagine an era 18,000 years ago when this entire land was covered by a massive ice sheet miles thick. Its immense weight crushed everything beneath it, and as the glacier moved, it used hard rocks trapped in its belly to carve directly into the island's solid limestone, leaving deep, smooth furrows as if polished by modern industrial machinery. Walking along the boardwalk surrounding this site, you'll see stone grooves stretching over 400 feet long and 10 feet deep. There is something surreal about touching these cool rocks and realizing you are touching the history of the planet from before humans even began to write. But don't just focus on the dead stone. Kelleys Island is also a strange ecosystem where migratory birds stop and rare plants bloom between limestone crevices. Did you know this island was once a massive quarry before becoming a preserve? Workers back then accidentally discovered this geological treasure, and thanks to timely intervention, it wasn't turned into stone dust for construction. However, the real secret lies in the fact that if you look closely at the cliffs along the shore at sunset, you'll see petroglyphs from ancient indigenous people who once stood exactly where you are now, marveling at the glacial scars. Why did they choose this place to leave their mark? Did they believe these grooves were paths for the Baz? That question still hangs in the air amidst the rustling waves of Lake Erie, making Kelleys Island not just a geological destination, but a land of reflection on eternity. But brace yourself, because our next stop will take you from cold stone to a farm filled with the breath of literature and legendary Hollywood weddings. Top 17, Malabar Farm, where literature and Hollywood legends meet, stood 1939. After leaving the cold glacial grooves of Kelleys Island, I'm taking you to a place where every inch of soil is soaked in the breath of art and the most romantic stories of the 20th century. Imagine a lush green valley in Richland County, where a massive white house appears among rolling hills. This is Malabar Farm, built by Louis Bromfield, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author who possessed the heart of a true farmer. Bromfield didn't just build a house, he built a philosophy of life. After witnessing the destruction of industrialized agriculture, he returned to Ohio in 1939 to revive this barren land using sustainable farming methods that were half a century ahead of their time. But what turned a farm into a must-see destination? It was the pull of Hollywood flashbulbs. On May 21, 1945, the world's eyes were on Malabar Farm when the legendary couple Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall chose this place for their wedding. You can stand in the very room where they exchanged their vows, feeling the elegance blended with the rustic charm of rural Ohio. But don't let the glamour fool you. Malabar Farm has darker corners. They say Bromfield's spirit still wanders the hallways, tending to his books and experimental fields. Every step on the old wooden floors creaks as if recounting the lavish parties of the New York elite in the heart of the countryside. Why would a shining star choose a remote farm for their lifelong happiness? The answer lies in the extraordinary peace that only Malabar can provide. However, that peace is about to be broken by our next destination, a place where silence takes on a completely different tone, a town built on sacrifice and strict religious vows. Top 16, the Wilds, a safari wonder on the brink of destruction. Before we get closer to the terrifying secrets at the end of the list, I want you to stop at a place that will completely change your definition of recovery. Would you believe that one of the world's largest wildlife conservation centers sits right on an old coal mine that was dug to ruins? That is the Wilds. For decades, massive machines chewed up this land to extract every bit of coal, leaving behind a landscape like the surface of the moon, barren and dead. But instead of leaving it to the dust, an ambitious project transformed 10,000 acres of wasteland into a paradise for animals on the brink of extinction. As you sit in a jeep crossing vast grasslands, you'll see white rhinos, giraffes, and herds of zebras grazing under the Ohio sky. The feeling is truly surreal. It's not a zoo with cramped cages, but a land of freedom where humans are just visitors. The contrast between the dark mining past and the vibrant life here is a slap in the face to pessimism. But listen, this revival wasn't easy. To get grass to grow and water to be drinkable again, they had to use the most complex biological techniques. However, when you look into the eyes of a cheetah prowling in the grass, you'll understand that every effort was worth it. But is this life truly sustainable? Or just a glamorous facade covering the unhealed wounds of the earth? The answer might surprise you as we explore ancient earthworks in our next spot, where the ancients knew how to harmonize with nature thousands of years ago. Top 15. Historic Zoar Village. The dream of a world without private property, 1817. If the wilds is the recovery of nature, then historic Zoar Village is an experimental recovery of the human soul. Imagine a community where no one owns anything for themselves, where everyone works, eats, and shares all the fruits of their labor together. In 1817, a group of German religious separatists fled persecution in their homeland to come to Ohio and build a new Jerusalem. They called it Zoar, a place of refuge. For over 80 years, this community existed and thrived, becoming one of the most successful communal societies in American history, with wealth equivalent to millions of dollars today. Stepping into Zoar is like walking through a time portal. Hand-fired brick houses, mossy tile roofs, and especially the central garden designed with complex mathematical and theological symbols. Every path, every row of trees carries a deep spiritual meaning about the connection between man and God. But what was the price of that peace? It was the sacrifice of individual freedom and strict rules regarding marriage and daily life. What caused such a powerful economic empire to finally dissolve in 1898? Is human greed always stronger than religious vows? As you walk through the village museum, you'll see the remaining relics, old shoes, farming tools, all exuding a gentle sadness for a dream unfulfilled. But don't let that sadness hold you too long, because the next spot will take you to a giant structure many times larger, not built by man with bricks, but molded by the power of water and stone. Top 14. Clifton Mill, the melody of water and light, 1802. If you are looking for a place where the sounds of history still echo clearly with every beat, head to Clifton Gorge. Here, by the Little Miami River, a massive wooden structure has stood firm for over 2 centuries. Clifton Mill, built in 1802, it is one of the largest water-powered grist mills still standing in the U.S. But don't just look at it as a silent museum. When you step inside, the smell of fresh cornmeal and the rhythmic thumping of massive wooden gears will wake all your senses. The power of the rushing water beneath the floor is converted into mechanical energy, grinding grain between 2 multi-ton stones. It is a dance of primitive but perfect engineering. However, the secret that made Clifton Mill globally famous isn't the cornmeal, but a twist that happens every Christmas season. Imagine the entire gorge area, from the mill roof and wooden bridge to the vertical cliffs, suddenly illuminated by 4 million brilliant LED lights. As night falls, a waterfall of light pours into the river, creating a scene so magical you'll wonder if you're in a Disney fantasy movie. The contrast between a rugged 19th century machine and the ultimate splendor of modern lighting technology creates an intense visual shock. Why would a family spend months every year just to string millions of lights on an old mill? It's because they want to prove that history doesn't have to be gray. It can shine in the most glorious way. But prepare yourself, because after this brilliant light, we are going into the deep darkness of the earth, where treasures made of stone, not electricity, await. Top 13, Cedar Creek State Park, the hunter of 450 million-year-old memories. Have you ever dreamed of holding a creature in your hand that died before the first dinosaur ever appeared? At Cedar Creek, that dream is not only real, it's free. When the dam was built in the 70s, engineers accidentally peeled back layers of ancient limestone, revealing a massive graveyard from the Ordovician period. This isn't an amusement park with plastic models. It's a wilderness where you are allowed to be a real archaeologist. Look down at your feet. Every stone you kick could be a trilobite or a piece of horned coral fossilized 450 million years ago. The feeling of prying a piece of rock and discovering the perfect lines of an ancient sea creature is an experience beyond words. It makes you realize that this dry Ohio land was once the bottom of a warm, shallow ocean. But why is this place so important? Because it teaches us about the fragility of life. These creatures once ruled the planet, and now they are just stone fragments in a tourist's hand. The hook here is curiosity. Will you be lucky enough to find a complete fossil, or will you accidentally step over a priceless treasure without knowing? And while you are preoccupied with the distant past, nearby, another contemporary but ancient culture exists with secrets of food and a lifestyle without electricity. Top 12. Guggisberg Cheese. The Secret in the Cheese Holes, 1964. Welcome to Amish country, where horse-drawn buggies are still the main mode of transport and time seems to run at half speed. In the town of Charm, there is a landmark that has become legendary, Guggisberg Cheese. The story begins with Alfred Guggisberg, a master cheesemaker from Switzerland who brought his secret recipe to the hills of Ohio. But instead of just copying what existed, Alfred created something entirely new. Baby Swiss cheese. Why is it called baby? Not because of its Swiss, but because its flavor is milder, sweeter, and the holes, cheese eyes, are smaller than traditional Swiss cheese. When you enter the shop, the rich aroma of fresh milk surrounds you. You can stand behind the glass and watch the process of massive cheese blocks being molded by hand. This is a strange connection between European tradition and the bountiful ingredients of the American Midwest. But what really makes people wait in long lines for a piece of cheese? It's the secret of the milk from Amish farms, where cows are grazed completely naturally, without chemicals. The piece of cheese in your hand isn't just food, it's the distillation of a pure lifestyle. But be careful, this flavor can be addictive, and it will make you wonder, are we rushing too much in the modern world and missing out on sustainable values like this? Top 11. Aullwood Audubon, When Nature is a Work of Art. Located right on the edge of the bustle of Dayton, Aullwood is like a massive outdoor meditation room. Founded by Marie Aull, considered the godmother of the conservation movement in Ohio. This place isn't just a forest or a farm, it is a living textbook on biodiversity, with over 350 acres including tall grass prairies, forests, and marshes. Aullwood is where you can truly hear the wings of the rarest birds. But what makes this place special on our list are the giants. Recently, artist Thomas Dambo installed massive trolls made of recycled wood hidden in the forest. Finding these wooden creatures turns your hike into an exciting treasure hunt. It urges viewers to go deeper into the woods and look closer at the foliage. It's a great way to connect the younger generation with nature. However, behind that peaceful beauty is an endless battle to protect the last green patches from urban sprawl. Why did Marie Aull spend her life protecting this land? And what are those wooden giants trying to tell us? The answer probably lies in the silence you find standing in a field of grass taller than your head. But don't relax too much, because in the next spot, we are returning to windswept islands and the heroic historical secrets of Lake Erie. Top 10. The Lake Erie Islands, isolated pieces in a freshwater sea. If you think you have to fly to Florida or the Caribbean to find that island getaway feeling, you are mistaken. Right in northern Ohio, in the heart of Lake Erie, is a cluster of islands where each one has a completely unique personality. We talked about Kelleys Island at number 18 with its glacial scars, but this island system has even deeper secrets. Imagine floating on a ferry, the lake wind blowing hard, and suddenly small islands like South Bass and Middle Bass appear like emeralds. On South Bass, the center is the town of Put-in-Bay, where time seems to have stopped in the 1800s, with small streets and golf carts buzzing around. But what keeps people here isn't the busy bars, but Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial. This is one of the tallest isolated stone columns in the world, marking a brutal naval battle in 1812 that shaped the US-Canada border. However, if you want absolute silence, go to Middle Bass. Here, an old winery called Lon's Winery, with architecture like a red brick fortress right on the water's edge, tells of a golden age when this region was known as the Wine Islands of America. Why did massive wineries spring up in the middle of a lake? It's thanks to the unique climate of Lake Erie that produced grapes with flavors found nowhere else. But be careful, when the fog rolls in, these islands become so ghostly and isolated that you'll feel like an exile in a freshwater ocean. Top 9. Marblehead Lighthouse. Witness to the Waves, 1821. Moving away from the islands, we return to the mainland but keep our eyes on the water. At the tip of the Marblehead Peninsula, a pristine white tower has stood against the fury of Lake Erie for over 200 years. This is not just the oldest continuously operating lighthouse on the Great Lakes. It is a symbol of human resilience. Imagine stormy nights when Lake Erie's waves rise like walls of water. The small light atop this tower was the only thing separating ships from their death among the reefs. But the real story begins when you look deep into the list of lighthouse keepers. In a 19th century world where women rarely had a voice, Rachel Wolcott became the first female lighthouse keeper after her husband passed away. She maintained the light alone, ensuring the safety of thousands of sailors through the harshest winters. The storytelling technique here is emotion. Try climbing the 77 spiral steps to the top, feel the wind whistling through the vents, and look out into the distance. You'll understand that safety is sometimes traded for the ultimate loneliness of the keepers. Why did they choose that life? Perhaps because their love for this lake was greater than their fear of the storm. But don't be satisfied with this romantic beauty, because in the next spot, we enter a space of power and national secrets. Top 8. Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library in Museums, 1916. Located on the vast Spiegel Grove estate in Fremont. This is not just a museum, but the prototype for all presidential libraries in the U.S. Rutherford B. Hayes, the 19th president, might not be the most famous name in history, but the legacy he left is a priceless treasure. His 31-room Victorian mansion still holds original furniture, books, and diplomatic gifts from around the world. What's shocking here? It's the contrast between the glamorous exterior of a mansion and the raw political truths preserved inside Guggisberg. Hayes was elected after one of the most controversial elections in U.S. history, and it was here that he made decisions that ended Reconstruction, shaping the fate of millions of African Americans. As you walk under the centuries-old oaks on the grounds, you'll feel the weight of history. Every document, every photo here was a piece of a nation struggling to find its identity after the Civil War. But there's a small secret. Rumor has it the President and First Lady Lucy still frequently visit the house on moonless nights to check if their descendants are preserving their legacy correctly. Would you dare enter this library after the lights go out? Top 7. Helltown, the town of curses and urban legends. Fasten your seatbelts, because we are entering the scariest area on the list. Helltown isn't an official name on the map, but a nickname given to the northern part of Summit County. This is a land abandoned after the federal government bought the land to establish Cuyahoga Valley National Park in the 70s. The result? A town of empty houses, roads leading to nowhere, and the haunting old Boston Cemetery. A series of urban legends have sprung up here to keep the curious at bay. Stories of a bus full of slaughtered students still in the woods, mutated creatures from chemical waste from secret factories, and the end-of-the-world road where cars disappear without a trace. The storytelling technique here is the curiosity gap. The truth is, this is just reclaimed land. But why is the fear so real? As you drive through sharp turns and see road closed signs, your heart will skip a beat. Some swear they've seen blurry white figures dancing among the graves at midnight. Helltown is proof that when humans leave, nature and dark imaginations take over. Do you have the courage to stop your car and walk into the woods in Helltown? If not, leave quickly, because the next spot will take us to another great human achievement, but on a completely different civilizational scale. Top 6, Oberlin, the cradle of ideological revolutions. Welcome on to Oberlin, a small town that carries the stature of a giant in terms of ethics and education. Founded in 1833, Oberlin College is not just a university, it is a fortress of progress. This was the first place in America to admit black students and women to study alongside white men, an incredibly bold and dangerous move at the time. Walking the streets of Oberlin, you'll feel a different energy. It's a place where art and politics blend. The Allen Memorial Art Museum here owns original works by masters like Picasso and Monet. And the best part, you can view them completely for free, in a space so quiet you can hear your own breath. But the real secret of Oberlin lies in the Underground Railroad. This town was a major stop for slaves escaping from the South to Canada. The people here risked their lives and property to hide strangers. That kindness and courage are still soaked into every brick of the town. Why did Oberlin choose the hardest path? The answer lies in a rock-solid belief in fairness. And while you are reflecting on human value in Oberlin, in the next spot, we return to real giants, but ones built of earth thousands of years ago. Top 5. Fort Ancient, the wonder of the giants, 400 BCE. If at number 25 we were amazed by an earthen snake, at number 5 the scale will truly overwhelm you. Imagine standing on a flat plateau in Warren County, surrounded by massive earthen walls up to 23 feet high, winding continuously for 3 miles. This is Fort Ancient, the largest hilltop earthwork in North America, built by the Hopewell culture over 2,000 years ago. What makes this place so valuable? It's the mystery of its function. For centuries, people believed it was a military fort to defend against enemies, but modern research has completely overturned that hypothesis. Fort Ancient was actually a massive astronomical observatory. The gaps in the earthen walls were calculated with absolute precision to align with the sun on the winter solstice, summer solstice, and lunar cycles. Imagine thousands of ancient people gathering here, in absolute silence, waiting for the moment the first light of the new year pierced through the earthen gate. That isn't just engineering, it's a mystical, spiritual connection. But how did a tribe with no written language and no metal tools move millions of cubic feet of earth with centimeter-level precision? That question still haunts scientists, making Fort Ancient the Stonehenge of America. And as you stand in the heart of this monument, you'll feel a strange energy, as if the giants are still watching us from the past. Top 4. Dawes Arboretum, a giant map from the air. Leaving the ancient earthen walls, we come to an eccentric and artistic 20th century project in Licking County. Dawes Arboretum is not only home to thousands of rare tree species, but it also possesses something you can only see fully if you are flying in a plane or using a satellite. It is a hedge over 2 miles long, meticulously trimmed to spell out the exact name of the garden, Dawes Arboretum. Why do something so labor-intensive? This is the legacy of Bayman Dawes, a man with great vision and a bit of extravagance. He wanted to create a mark that even the bonds from above would notice. But that's not all. Deep inside the garden, you'll find an authentic Japanese garden with bright red bridges and still ponds, designed by master gardeners from Tokyo. The combination of American grandeur and Asian delicacy creates an otherworldly space. The hook here is curiosity about scale. Will you have the patience to walk the full length of those giant letters on the ground? Or will you choose to stand on the observation tower to see a part of this wonder? But save your energy, because the next spot will take you to a surreal experience you never thought could exist in America. Top 3. The Wilds, a safari in the heart of mining hell. I have to mention this place again at a higher rank because the truth about it is even more overwhelming than what you heard before. Look at these photos, a herd of giraffes roaming freely, with a deep blue lake and rolling hills in the background. You think this is Kenya? No, this is Southeast Ohio. The Wilds is the most vivid proof that humans can fix their worst mistakes. This land was once strip mined for coal, leaving a festering and toxic wound on the earth. But instead of giving up, conservationists turned it into the world's largest wildlife conservation center on mined land. Here, you won't see iron cages. You'll see rare white rhinos, cheetahs, and zebras running free on thousands of acres. The twist? You can stay overnight in nomad-style tents right in the middle of the preserve, listening to the howling of wolves and the breath of the wilderness at night. The feeling of waking up and seeing a giraffe looking at you through the window right in Ohio is completely absurd, but 100% real. This is the pinnacle of recovery, where industrial death gives way to the rebirth of the wild. But if you think this is the most surprising thing, wait until we touch on number 2, where the line between reality and fiction, between life and curses, becomes thinner than ever. Top 2, the ghost town, Helltown. When fear becomes heritage, the runner-up spot belongs to a place whose name alone sends shivers down your spine, Helltown. As I said, this is the area wiped out by the federal government in the 70s for a park. But what remained after the residents left wasn't peace, but a suffocatingly gloomy space. Why does Helltown rank so high? Because it is the only place in Ohio where urban legends have completely overwhelmed reality. Imagine driving on Stanford Road, and suddenly the road drops steeply and ends abruptly at a rotting barricade. People call it the end of the world. Abandoned houses with broken windows, rusted buses left in the deep woods, and Boston Cemetery with ancient graves from the 18th century. There are reports of a man in a black robe frequently appearing at the small church on the hill, and unexplained screaming sounds coming from the dense forests. No matter how the government explains it, locals still believe chemical leaks once occurred here, creating mutated creatures. Helltown isn't just a location, it's a psychological experience. It taps into humanity's deepest fears of loneliness in what is left behind. But would you dare stop at that end of the world road at 3 a.m.? If the answer is no, then move quickly to number 1, where the most beautiful secret awaits you right in the middle of the city bustle. Top 1, Hayden Falls Park, the jewel in the heart of the urban monster. And here it is, the number 1 spot I promised you. What could beat castles, ancient snakes, or haunted ghost towns? It is the presence of a stunning natural wonder located right in the heart of Columbus, Ohio's bustling capital. Hayden Falls is not a metaphor. It is a real gorge, 35 feet deep, cut through Scioto shale with a 20-foot waterfall cascading down in white foam. The most shocking point is its miraculous existence. The entire park is only about 10 acres, surrounded on all sides by shopping centers, high-rise apartments, and busy highways. Millions of people drive past here every day for work or shopping without knowing that just by turning into a small entrance and walking less than 5 minutes on a boardwalk through the trees, they will be lost in a completely different world. The sound of car horns and smog disappears, replaced by the roar of the waterfall and the cool air of ancient stone. It only takes 20 minutes to visit, but the feeling it brings is total amazement. How can such an interesting and wild geological feature persist in the heart of a major American city for so long? Hayden Falls represents the spirit of Ohio. It gives its most precious rewards to those who truly know how to observe, to those who don't just glance out the bus window, but are willing to step down and explore what is hidden right beneath their feet. Ohio has kept this secret for a long time, and now, you are the one who holds it. That was the journey through 25 hidden gems of Ohio, from Ice Age remnants to mysterious waterfalls in the heart of the city. Have you ever accidentally passed by any of these places? Or is there a location that makes you want to pack your bags and go right now? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to join me in exploring more forgotten wonders around the world. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next journey.